हेलो एवरीवन। आज हम डिस्कस करेंगे क्लास 12 का चैप्टर 8 बायोलॉजी which is human health and disease, and we'll discuss about the important points which are covered in NCERT. Plus I'll also give you some notes, so towards the end we will be also writing down the important points which are mentioned in the chapter. Let us start with the first topic, which is health. So how do we define health as? Health is said to be an absence of a disease. So when our body is free from any kind of a disease, we call it a healthy body. We can also talk about, being physically fit. जब हमारी body physically fit है, physical fitness है body में, then also we call it as a healthy body. Plus, how to forget the mental aspect? We have to be mentally sound. And of course, the social well being also. We should behave well in our society. So, how do we define health as? We can say absence of a disease is healthy, is being healthy, or we can also say that a complete state of physical, मेंटल एंड सोशल वेलबींग सोशल वेलबींग ऑफ अ पर्सन हर इंसान की फिजिकली फिट है अगर वो इंसान अगर वो मेंटली हेल्दी है या फिर वो सोशली अच्छे से बिहेव करता है सो देन वी कॉल दैट पर्सन टू बी हेल्दी ओके सो वी हैव टू इंक्लूड ऑल द थ्री एस्पेक्ट्स physical mental and social well-being of a person is called as health. So this is the definition which we will be writing: a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being of a person is called as health. Now, when somebody is healthy, then the person is more efficient. He would be working more efficiently. Then his lifespan would be more. So longevity of life will increasing. It would also increasing the productivity. जितना वो काम कर रहे हैं उसमें वो efficiently काम करेंगे. So therefore that person is more productive as well. Plus, it will also bring the economic prosperity for that person. Therefore, health will increase economic prosperity. It will also increase productivity for that person. So, therefore, the line also mentions that it increases productivity and also brings the economic prosperity. Health also increases longevity of the person, the lifespan of that person increases, plus it is also reducing infant and maternal mortality. Mortality का मतलब होता है death. So when the person is healthy, therefore, the mortality rate or the death rate are going to decrease. Similarly, if the mother is healthy, the infant or the newborn is going to be healthy. So thereby, we are also decreasing the infant mortality rate if we are focusing on the health of the mother. Fine. So therefore, we can say it has a healthy person has an overall impact, and if a mother is healthy, the infant mortality rate is also going to decrease. All right. Next is here the paragraph of NCERT mentions how a person can be healthy. So by eating a balanced diet, by maintaining a personal hygiene, by doing regular exercises, and also by doing various practices like yoga practicing. Also, this is going to increase the physical as well as mental health of the person. Awareness about the disease is also very important. When somebody is aware about the disease, when somebody is aware about the various causes of that disease, the various symptoms of the disease, so that person would recognize or would be able to diagnose the disease quickly and would report the case to the doctor. So that would be, it would be bringing about the अवेयरनेस अबाउट द डिजीज और उसके इफेक्ट हमारे बॉडी में क्या हो सकते हैं. अगर हम लोगों को जागरूक बनाएंगे तो उस तरीके से हम लोगों को ज्यादा हेल्दी भी बना सकते हैं. Similarly, awareness about the vaccination, awareness about how the different functions happen in our body, awareness about infections against awareness about immunization against infectious disease. Then how do we dispose the waste in our society, control of vectors, how do the disease spreads. So when we are aware about all these things, how do we maintain hygiene around in our society? When we are aware and when we are making population aware about all these things, then populations would be, saved from various diseases which are spreading by malpractices, by unhygienic practices that we follow. So therefore, when we make populations aware about all these things, about all these diseases, we would be making them more healthier as well. Next is, if we have talked about the definition of health, if we have understood health in such a nicer way, then the next thing which we need to understand in the chapter is disease, because the chapter name is health and disease. So let us understand what disease is. So before I proceed to the formal definition, we will just break this word into two. Dis is. So this is, that means something is not easy, something is not, comfortable. So when a person is not healthy, we say that the person is diseased. When the person is not easy, when the person is having some disorder, then we call the person as a diseased person. So therefore, not being healthy is when you're not comfortable, and therefore we call disease as a person which is not feeling healthy is a diseased person. Now these disease we can divide into two categories. The first one is infectious disease, and the second is the non-infectious disease. We will understand individually what different types of diseases are, and what are these infectious and what are these non-infectious diseases. So when the disease is transmitted from one person to another, when a disease is being transmitted मतलब एक इंसान से दूसरे इंसान को हो सकती है. When the disease is easily transmitted, आसानी से किसी इंसान से दूसरे इंसान को हो जाए, then that disease is called as infectious disease. Okay, so infectious disease are very common, and many of us have caught infections from other people as well. So वो disease जो एक इंसान से दूसरे इंसान में आसानी से फैल जाए, that is an infectious disease. And some of the infectious disease are very fatal as well. They are fatal, matlab they're life threatening. So for example, AIDS. So these are, it is one of the infectious diseases which is very fatal. Then we have the second category, which is the non-infectious disease. Now, this non-infectious disease are those which, which do not spread easily from, which are not spreading from one person to another. So they are not contagious. Okay. So for example, cancer. Cancer is a non-infectious disease. If a person is having cancer in the family, so that doesn't mean, from one person it is going to be spreading to another person in the same family. So therefore, cancer is a non-infectious disease. All right. However, they are also fatal diseases. They can also be life-threatening diseases, but they do not infect they do not transmit from one person to another person in the same family or even outside. Fine. So these are the diseases which are non-infectious diseases. All right. So I'll just quickly give you the highlights of what we have discussed. All right. So first we discussed about the definition of health. So what do we call health as? It's a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of a person. So whenever you're defining health, you have to include all the three aspects, okay? Physical, mental, and social well-being of a person. तीनों चीजों की हम इंटीग्रेटेड बात करते हैं, तभी हम किसी इंसान को healthy कह सकते हैं. Fine. Next is we also discussed about health increases the lifespan or the longevity of the person. Now, after that, health also reduces infant and maternal mortality rates. So when a person is healthy, therefore, it is going to be decreasing the death rate of that particular person, or if you talk about populations also, so that is going to be decreasing ultimately the death rates which are happening in that particular area. Next, we discussed about the definition of a disease. Now, what is disease? Any condition which is interfering with the normal functioning of our body. So, any condition which we are not easy about, which is just interfering with the normal, physiological functions of our body, or any of the disease which is causing disorders in our body or disorders in our mind, or even the disorders in our behavior is called as a disease. Okay. So remember to learn it as, break the word into two, and we would be easily able to understand this is. So when we are not feeling easy, when we're not comfortable, that comes under a state which is a diseased state. Okay. And disease is caused by the microorganisms which are called as pathogens. So pathogens are nothing but disease causing organisms are called as pathogens in our body. Next is types of disease. We discussed about the two types of disease which are mentioned in the NCERT. First is infectious disease and the second is non-infectious disease. Infectious disease are easily transmitted from one infected person to another. So if a person is infected, he is going to transmit the infectious disease to another person. Okay. So such diseases which are easily transmitted from one person to another is called as an infectious disease. Infectious disease are caused or they occur due to the presence of pathogens. So there are some microorganisms like bacteria, like viruses, fungus, protozoans. So in the chapter further, we'll be talking about each one of them in detail. So these are the pathogens which cause the infectious diseases. How do we prevent such kind of diseases? By maintaining the personal hygiene, by maintaining a good public health, also is going to reduce the probability of such like diseases. So when we maintain good personal and public hygiene measures, when we take them, so it is a very good chance that we are going to lessen the chances of such like diseases. Examples of infectious disease are tetanus and hepatitis B, and there are many more examples which we are going to study further in this chapter. So this was about infectious disease. Next, we are going to talk about another type of a disease, which is the non-infectious disease. Now, these non-infectious diseases, they are not transmitted from one person to another. They cannot be, if a person is infected in the family, but this disease would not be, transmitting from that infected person to another person in the family. So they are not transmitted from one person to another person. Next is there are many extrinsic as well as intrinsic factors. For example, if we are deficient in some vitamins or we have some hereditary factors, so it is more likely that we would be suffering from such non-infectious diseases. Okay, so deficiencies and hereditary factors also affect and they can cause such disease. Fine, say for example, we have deficiency disorders also we have hereditary factors which can cause a disease in the family and which can pass on from one generation to another generation. All right, then we also have public health and personal health maintenance, personal hygiene maintenance in such disorders is not much effective. So even if we try to maintain the best of personal hygiene measures, if we take the best of personal hygiene measures, or if we try to maintain and participate well in the public health conditions around us, we are not going to lessen the chances of such non-infectious diseases. Example of such disease is cancer. So cancer is one such non-infectious disease which is not being transmitted from one patient to another. So now this was the summary of what we have discussed till now. We'll be moving further with the chapter in the next video. Stay tuned for the next video and do like this video if you have really understood the chapter and subscribe my channel and we will be bringing to you such more videos and we'll continue the chapter in the next video. Thank you.